What an experience that was.
Trying to get on?
So it was like you forgot your password, but then I realized I was using the wrong email, and then my computer was so slow and was like I tried to join 10 times. It was like not responding, not responding, not responding. I was
Good.
temporarily peeved for sure.
um, this you're logged in as M Krog right now, whereas last time you were logged in as Savage Sculpt.
I don't know what's going on, honestly.
So maybe you're just in the wrong account again somehow.
What a joyful time.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee.
Sing it, sing it.
Name that movie.
I don't know actually.
Sister Act.
I've never even heard of it.
Sister Act? Oh my,
Yeah.
dude. Sister Act 2. You gotta
All
watch
right.
it.
All right.
The end of the movie is one of the most energetic scenes that I've ever seen.
That's a lot. I'd be
No,
careful.
honestly, so um, during presentations, I'll show Freddie Mercury at the Be Live concert. Have you seen that?
Awesome. Of course.
He freaking kills it. Then I show Sister Act 2, the last scene where all the kids are singing, and then I show Whitney Houston singing the
Mm.
national anthem, and I ask who transferred the most energy, and I say, okay, let's vote for Freddie Mercury, and like a couple of hands go up. Then I say, okay, what about Sister Act 2? And a lot more hands go up. And then I say, okay, what about Whitney Houston? And it's always a close tie between Whitney Houston and the last scene of Sister Act 2. So I'm not making it up. I ask, this transfer of energy is so real, and you're just sitting there and you're like feeling so good.
You know what would win out of all three of those?
What?
The ending of Lizzie McGuire movie.
What?
The concert? Dude, that
Uh,
gets me hyped up.
I don't even know if I've ever, or I probably have seen it, but I can't remember.
It's worth a YouTube search later.
Okay, I'll check it out for sure. I'll have to add that to the repertoire if I really am that moved by it.
Oh,
I'm searching for the top three because I always do that. I show them those videos and I'm like, did they transfer you any energy? Did your energy state change
change. Yeah.
because you watched this video? And yeah, it always does. It's pretty
Awesome.
crazy.
Awesome.
So I did this clarity chart last night. I like was reading High Performance Habits by Brennan Bouchard, and I got up and I just did the activity. I was pretty inspired. I was reading kind of late, and then I just was like, I feel like I need to do this now. So I got
Yeah.
up and spent the half hour. But the first question is, and these are all questions that I've asked myself and ask other people as well. So like I just liked going through it again. But three words that describe my best self are, what would you say to that one?
Three words that describe my best self. I would right away. My mind goes to like what my values are, which would be faith, health, and family or
Faith,
love
health, and family,
or
or
love.
love.
Yeah.
Is it family or love?
Well, I had them in the both section. It's family slash love because I feel
Okay.
like they combine into one.
Yeah,
I
got
think of
you.
love. I think of family.
So some ideas for embodying these words in the upcoming weeks are
Ideas of embodying
the
these words,
words in the upcoming weeks.
like what my actions would be.
Yeah, so how can you remind yourself of the person that you are or the person you want to be, like your best self more often?
Um, Definitely by like the daily goals I set for myself. Um, Reading my Bible, reaching out to family, and focusing on my diet challenges or fitness challenges that I set for myself, making sure I get my workouts in and such.
Nice. So it sounds like when you wake up in the morning and you write down your daily schedule, you like
Yeah,
you rewrite your goals every day.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's who else does that? He's a multimillionaire. He sells real estate. He wrote the 10x rule. Have you ever read the 10x rule?
I haven't. I don't think.
but he talks about writing down your goals every day. Grant Cardone, and
Oh, okay, okay.
have you ever heard of him?
Yes, but
But
I've never read the 10x.
he makes millions of dollars. I don't even know what his net worth is. It's insane, probably. But
Yeah,
he writes down his goals every morning just to, again, bring clarity to them. The more you think about something, the more clear it becomes in your mind, right?
what you
So
magnify, you get more of.
there you go. So I wrote down, you can change your phone background. So like I changed my phone background to my 3 words:
Cool.
embolden, energize, grit. Set phone alarms. You already do that.
Yep,
Set reminders on your phone so that when you show up places or you leave places,
I do that too.
the same thing. And then, yeah, I have rewrite them every morning.
Cool. I'm gonna change my background for sure. I like that.
What are 3 words that define how you want to treat other people?
Hmm. 3 words. I have the idea. I'm just trying to break it down into 3 words.
A word? I know. I have a phrase for my last one.
Yeah, my way of I don't know why I can't think of 3 words, but my way of treating other people is you can't receive God's love unless you share God's love. Like you can't receive love unless you give love. So I just like love everyone as God has loved you because everyone's my brother and sister.
So love is what it sounds like.
Yeah, just love.
Just love.
Love.
Well, that's cool too. Having one is I worked with this guy Chris Barnes, who's a USA bowler. He's the only $1 million man in bowling, and we talk about your mental ABC. So just simplifying down your game to 3 things that make you great or are going to make you great. And he's like, oh well, I don't really have 3 things. I only have one thing. I tell myself stay tall, and when I tell myself stay tall, I bowl great games.
And everything falls into place. So
Yep, exactly.
you probably could have like 3 things, but that phrase in itself like sets up yourself to accomplish the rest that follows that phrase.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
it's
like that.
a cascade
Mhm.
of events that happens just because of that.
I have that too.
That is the
Like
chain reactor.
even before I teach my classes, when I get that nervous feeling and I say I feel energized, like all of the positive traits that I want to share during the classes follow that phrase. So it's
Hmm.
like, you know, adjusting people when they're out of place or sharing a message or like getting in front of them when they look like they're struggling. Like everything follows that when I say I'm energized.
Hmm. So that's the difference between emotions and feelings. So the emotion is nervousness, and the feeling is energized, right?
Yes.
And high performers make a distinction between their emotions and their feelings, regardless of their emotions, because you can't control your emotions,
Yeah.
but you can control how you respond to them with your feelings. So by
Exactly.
you saying you're energized, that's different from saying I feel nervous.
Yeah. And that's where people miss out because they don't um like we said in the other podcast, they link the same feeling that they've had in past experiences. So instead of changing it, they'll just use something they're used to. So they stay with I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm afraid, and then it goes back to the negative side effects that follow that.
Hmm.
What up,
What's up, man? Lyndon,
Lyndon?
he's back getting a workout in. Looks like. Uh, so love mine were I want to treat other people respectfully with kindness, and then based on their actions, not their words.
Cool.
Because I just think that's how you are judged in life, based on your actions, not on your words. Think about that's why sports are so amazing, because at the end of the day you're judged. How good of an athlete you are is based off of your numbers.
For sure.
So, but how do you get there? You get there from being a good person. And I just went to this festival called the Wellness Your Way Festival, and Molly Bloom was speaking there. Have you ever heard of that name?
No.
Molly Bloom is they just had a movie come out about her called, or it didn't just come out. It's called Molly's Game, and
Okay.
she this is a true story. She was an Olympic hopeful for skiing moguls, and she was going down the hill and flew off the ramp, and her ski came off. She came down, blew out her knee, back blew out, everything. So she retired that day, and then she moved to California and became a underground poker. She ran a high stakes poker game in California. Then she moved to New York and made it even more high stakes, $250,000 buy-in. She had all of this money. She was buying Bentleys with cash, and then the basically she got accidentally in bed with the Russian mob and the Italian mob, and the feds came down on her pretty hard. Then she lost all of her money, lost all of her contacts, like everything. And she went back to live with her mom, and she had a federal case against her. Long story short, now she is all about doing the right thing, because when she was running this high stakes poker game, she hated the person that she was.
Mm.
Every morning she would wake up and just hate who she was, and she distracted herself with drugs, and
Mm.
she had herself on drugs to get her up to get going, and then also on drugs to get her down so she could fall asleep for 4 or 5 hours. And now she just talks about how important doing the right thing and being a good person and working on your character is, and meditating. She said that when she first started meditating, she meditated for 30 seconds. Now she meditates for 20 minutes every day, doesn't miss a day, because she sees it as, just like she used to train her body physically to make the Olympic team, she needs to train her mind so that she can control her mind and her mind doesn't control her.
Isn't that funny? Um, that always reminds me of the story. Who I always forget this actor's name, but Mrs. Doubtfire. Who's that actor's
Robin
name?
Williams.
Yeah. Think think about this. Like he wanted his own TV show. He did it. He wanted to be in movies. He did it. He wanted to win awards in movies and TV shows. He did it. He wanted a great family. He did it. He wanted a perfect wife. He did it. He did it all, and then he killed himself. It's like I feel like people are missing out on when they see someone who's like so high up and successful and looks like they have the perfect right life, but when in reality they need more help than most of the average person does with just being themselves and finding true happiness within them.
Hmm. And that's the one question I've been thinking about a lot lately, is what is the definition of a high performer? So if I were to ask you, what's your definition of a high performer?
Staying true to who you are and following out that plan of reaching your full potential with doing something that you love instead of like doing what other people want you to do, or maybe you're great at a skill and that would make you a lot of money, but if it doesn't make you happy, then don't do it. A high performer to me is someone following their most true path, their most true potential, and doing something that they love.
Hmm. I would agree with that, because I think a lot of people think that high performers, when they hear that word, they think of uber successful athletes and people making millions and billions of dollars. And then I think about the other people, that there's a lot of people out there making $50,000 a year, less than that, less
Yep.
than $100,000 household income. And
Yep.
they are so happy and so
So
fulfilled in their
happy.
life, and they go to bed every night and they feel great. And
Yep.
that's what I think a high performer is. I think a high performer is somebody who's doing what they want, and they're doing what they have to do to get what they want, or they know what they want and then they're doing what they have to do to get what they want. And they're laying their head down on their pillow and they're like, today was a good day.
Yes. I I was literally about to say that. When you can go to bed and wake up feeling satisfied with what you're doing in life and loving that, then you've won. Keep following that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so funny though, at this Wellness Your Way festival, it was just, I didn't see any. I want to see people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like people who make 40, $50,000 and they're just incredibly fulfilled in their life, and they're cool with what they do.
Yep.
Whereas everybody at the festival was making or had incredible success in one domain or another, and then they all were talking about how that success didn't matter because at the end of the day they weren't happy.
Mm.
And so there was a guy that had two Super Bowl rings, sitting on the stage talking about how he was so happy when he retired because he could finally be a father and he could
Mm.
finally do things that he wanted to do, and he no longer had that anxiety around him about how, he had to wake up the next morning and go work out, because if he didn't go do his job in the weight room, he wouldn't have been playing, and there was just this
Yeah.
incredible anxiety around it. So,
And that's awesome. Good for him to realize that. And another thing is, a high performer to me is someone who doesn't take the safe route. And I say that because I know someone who last week, they're in nursing school, and they're all stressed out about how they don't really enjoy it. They don't want to go back, but it's the safe route and they know they can make a lot of money. And I was like, instantly, I was just, if you think like you just gave yourself the answer right there. You're saying that you don't really want to do it, but it's the safe route. And a high performer to me is someone who doesn't take the safe route because they know in the long run, yeah, great, you're going to make money, but it's going to kill you on the inside for a long periods of time.
mhm. Or if they choose to take the safe route, they understand that I am taking the safe route and this is my choice.
You don't
And
think that that's going to catch up to them if they truly, like, while saying they're taking the safe route, they say they don't really enjoy doing that?
well, if they say they don't really enjoy doing it, then yeah, it's different. But I'm
Yeah,
saying if they decide to choose that, then
for
and
sure.
they understand that this is the decision I'm making,
Mm.
then
Yeah,
that's
then own it. Then own it,
and
but
then they own it.
don't try to fake it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 for sure. Have you seen Iron Cowboy on Netflix?
of course. I mean, I
So,
read the book. I read the book before I watched it.
oh really? How's the
Yeah,
book?
I love it. I love it. It was yeah, I it was one of the first books I read this year.
He in that one he talks about how he got a safe job and he was doing the safe thing, and then the market crashed and he lost his job and he lost everything, and he's like, are you shitting me? I picked this route so I could provide for my family, and I did this because it was supposed to be safe, and it still blew up in his face.
And I recorded something on my way home from church, and it was about coincidences, and I'm going to post it today. And that you just brought up a great example. At that moment, he probably thought, like, I'm so unlucky, like, life sucks, like, this is happening to break me and whatever, like that, an impulsive reaction that we all would have. But
Mm-hmm.
now, but now he sees it as a gateway, or a blessing, because coincidences, stuff that happens out of nowhere when we least expect it, are, and some are great, some can be bad, but they're meant to shape us and not to break us. And he was called to be something so much greater than that regular job, and he realizes that now. But it's just funny because sometimes we need that wake up call that we think is going to kill us, but in reality, it's just leading us in a different way. And to me, that's God showing me that He's calling me to be something so much greater and not settling at where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty elite mindset. I don't think most people have that mindset of, if something is not working out and I'm continuing to hit adversity and hit barriers and fall on my face, that it's just that I haven't found my niche yet. I haven't found what I was
Yeah.
supposed to do yet. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
most people would be like, I keep falling on my face, I'm done with this. And they
Mm-hmm.
just don't get back up and they
Yeah.
stay down.
And
And that's,
if
I think, the importance of hope and faith.
yeah. And even by switching your mentality to know that life happens for you and not to you, immediately, if you believe that, then no matter what experience you have, positive or negative, you'll take the good out of it. Life is happening for you, not to you, meaning it's there to shape you for the future, whatever it's meaning. I see it as you're not ready for what is coming in the future. So that's why it's happening to you now, to shape you to be ready for whatever is going to happen in the future. So you can be strong enough to maybe help your kids when they're struggling with the same situation, to help someone that crossed your path that is struggling with that, be like, hey, I went through this. This is what I felt. Let's get up and moving. Like they happen to us so we can be ready for whatever's coming in the future.
Hmm. I've been saying that a lot lately. It's never one step forward, two steps back. It's always one step forward, one step forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even when you
Yeah.
feel like you're getting pushed back two steps, that's actually a step forward. Just like you said, whether things are positive, taking a step forward, or seem negative, taking two steps backward, there's always good, and that good is taking a step forward. If
Well, and look,
it's
and
finding the good.
yeah, and look at, I mean, look at what your situation. I mean, you lost your dad. That's not easy, and I'm sure it's still not easy. But what you've created and what you're doing, and like that is something that is going to allow you to grow in ways that other people can't, or maybe they can. They just need to. It's just a different. It's just dressed differently. Their struggle, like we talked about, some people's struggles are dressed differently than others, but it's there so you can become what you want to be in the future.
Hmm. My hard is different than your hard, but it's
Yep,
still hard,
exactly,
regardless.
exactly.
kind of kind of like in the Iron Cowboy when he talks about how his hard was doing 50 Ironmans in 50 days in all 50 states, and then his mom,
Yeah,
her level
yep.
of hard
I
was
love that
doing
example.
five 5Ks in 5 days. That's
Yeah,
hard for
I
her.
I loved when he talked about that. He was like, it's the same thing. We're struggling the same way. We're accomplishing the same type of achievement.
Hmm. It's all about just doing hard shit, and your
Yeah,
level of hard is different from everybody else's level of hard.
love that.
So, some people in my life I could improve my interactions with. Going back to 3 words that could define how I wanted to treat other people. Love. What are some people in your life? Doesn't have to be actual names, but that you could
I
improve
think
your interactions with.
all my family members, for sure. We kind of, I mean, we're close, but there could be more, for
Hmm.
sure.
I wrote friends, coaches I work with, and myself.
Mm, good.
So, and then skills. So, in this book, he talks about how high performers are always looking to improve skills in some facet of their life. So, what's one skill that you're trying to learn in your life right now, or you're trying to build knowledge around,
Hmm.
build experiences around to
Right
improve?
now, yeah, right now I'm really focusing on how to rewire my brain to subconsciously think positively instead of negatively. So, like the subconscious mind to always be in a positive state, because the average human is always in a negative state. And I am in a negative, like 95% of the time when a situation happens, my subconscious mind is in a negative state, and I'm able to rewire it in that moment if I realize it and bring it to consciousness to change it. But right now I'm focusing on shaping it so it is positive all the time. And that goes to Dr. Caroline Leaf. She has the detox program that I'm going to try starting tomorrow.
What's that entail?
I'd have to get my notebook, but it's 5 steps. The Actually, let me go grab it really quick. It's just in the other room.
Well, while he's gone, I'll talk about my 5 skills, and I'm trying to learn right now in my life. And the one I'm working on currently is meditation. The other one is marketing and improving my knowledge and skills around marketing. And then how to improve my question asking so I can ask better quality questions, and teaching, becoming a better teacher of the material that I know and have learned, and now I want to apply it better. And then also getting better at time blocking out my days and being focused, being more focused and attentive to bringing the right energy to those different time blocks, whether that be an email block or this call with Krog or anything along those lines. So being able to transform into the mindset that I need as soon as I get into that area of my life. So those were my five different skills. But what's this Caroline Leaf program entail?
So science shows, and Dr. Caroline shows, that it takes 21 days of repetition to change a thought in your brain, just one thought. So if you're living with like five constant negative thoughts that keep coming to your subconscious mind or conscious mind, then you need to do five separate 21-day detoxes for those thoughts. So it's one per thought. And the first step is to gather the thought, bring it into consciousness, whether it's writing it down and then replacing that thought instantly. And mine would be replacing it with like scripture. I would, like, if I had a thought that said, I'm worried about the future or not, I would change it with the scripture and think like, and add to that saying, I forgot what psalm it is, but it says, be still and know that I am God. Like, he's in control of it. So don't worry about it. So that's gather. That's step one. Write it down, bring it to consciousness. Two is focused reflection, which is another 1 to 10 minutes. It's to loosen the branches of that thought, reflecting on the positive, not dwelling on the negative. So what can you get out of that? Three is writing it, adding branches. So you'd write the thought and then do like negative over here, positive over here. So what negatives can come out of that thought? What positives can come out of thought? Creating like a tree of that thought, the negative and positive branches. And then four, you revisit, you look at everything you've written, look at your branches, and that way you're able to shift into a new healthy thought, because you're able to literally see a blueprint of your brain on a sheet of paper, like how it's working, what it's thinking. So it's like, okay, I know what I can work with now. And then five is active reach. So replace the problem and then actually doing it. So realizing what you need to do and then actually taking the steps to doing it. So she said that it should take 7 to 10 minutes every day per one thought.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good one. So are you going to do one thought at a time, or are you going to try doing two or three
Right,
thoughts at a
right,
time?
right now I have one thought that pretty much controls everything. So once I fix that one, I think I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting she brought up the negative and the positive things, because in that book, Ask More, Tell Less, he talks about the same thing with kids
Yeah.
and changing their behavior by changing their thought processes. And he has them write out the behavior, and you have a line going up. So that's like the behavior or the thought. And then he has two ways. And it's like, okay, write down all the negative things that could happen if you go that route. Write
Cool.
down all the positive things that could happen if you go down this route. And then he talks about this kid one day said, well, what if I go down the negative, but I want to get back to the positive? And so he talks about how when you go down that negative, you need a bridge back to the positive side. And what is your thought process there to get back from the negative to the positive? So it's
That's really cool. And again,
the same thing to what Carolyn
yeah,
Leaf is saying, I believe, from what you
100.
described.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, it's important to see, because again, it's so different to sit with yourself and think and like realize that you have the thoughts, but if you don't say it or you don't write it down, then you'll never physically see it. And it's so important, because your thoughts are the blueprint of your brain. It's how it's working in that very moment. So to see both avenues, it's like, well, I do not want to go down that path or negative branch. I want to go this way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to see it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the importance of journaling and writing. And that's part of the
100%.
reason I picked back up my journal. Normally, I do everything on line and
Yeah.
just typing it out. But for some
Yeah.
reason, I felt I needed to write last night. And it felt so good just to
It's
write something down
it's my favorite part of the day.
instead of do it on my computer. So
It's my
I still
favorite
do
part of the
everything
day.
on my computer, but it was nice to write this down.
Yeah.
So that's one of yours. One of mine was meditation. I want to get a lot better at meditating.
Mm.
I think it'd be cool to get
Have
up
you
to 20 minutes. I have
Cool.
done
Have you?
I've done 30 minutes and whatnot, and sometimes I'll sit on the plane and I'll meditate for over an hour. But
Mm.
day to day, I do 5 to 6 minutes.
So I do priming. It's a
Yeah, I know.
different. Yeah, you know what that is?
Yeah, I know priming.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Tony
It's
Robbins.
basically intention setting. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this.
Yep. Yep. I
Yeah,
love
I know
that.
that one.
That's my favorite form of meditation. And I do 15 and 20 minutes of that every day, and it puts me in such a great space. It helps me breathe deeply, which creates better thinking and top of your A game for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, any form of meditation can help. It's just finding the
Yep.
one that works for you, and that's
Sure.
the one that has worked for me is just linking up like this and crossing over my meridians, and then just sitting there and breathing. And I really like this one because it constricts my chest from opening up,
Hmm.
and it forces me to diaphragmatic breathe.
Cool. I love that. We learned about
So,
that one in Peru.
hmm I like doing that one a lot. So let's see, what's another question I had? The way I can learn or practice these skills this week. So you're going to just do the program, it sounds like?
Do the program and start looking for answers through God's word and not people.
Hmm.
That's like a big thing for me. When I
That's,
pray, when I pray and think and like talk to God about where I should go and like what I should post and what I should say, I always find like the best answer.
that's so interesting you say that because I'm not very religious. I would never, so like you saying that, I basically do the same thing except I say it differently. So I just say journal and
Yeah.
find the answer for yourself before seeking advice
Hmm.
from others. So we basically are saying
Yeah,
the same thing. It's just that we're going about it in a different route, and our belief systems are
for
just
sure.
different. Um, or maybe they're the
Yeah,
same,
for sure.
but
For sure.
again,
That's
said
cool.
differently. Uh, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because literally wrote that down after my dad passed away, I felt like I was always asking everybody else for advice. Oh, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? How do I deal with that? And it led me nowhere. At the end of the day, I still felt like shit.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I one day
And
just sat down and wrote. And
but
then by the end of that day, and I found the answer that I was searching for because it came from me.
hmm
And then
hmm
I was good after that.
yeah. And there are some things that I would ask you your opinion about, and I've found that the people who I really connect with and I could say are my true friends because I know that they're growing or trying to grow just as much as I am, they can give me better advice that will lead me into the direction of the answer that I know that I'd get for myself. But like when I sent you that caption, like you questioned me and then allowed me to add more to it and dig deep to what I really wanted to say. So I think there is like a balance to that, but it is true. Like you need to seek the answer for yourself, whether that's listening to your intuition, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's God. But yeah, like
Yeah, but
when you
you
have
didn't
those
come
true
to me
friends,
with that caption. You didn't come to me saying, "Hey, I want to do
yeah,
this
that's true.
caption. What do you think?" Like
Yeah, for
this,
sure,
you
for
you
sure.
had one out. You already did, and then I came and
Hmm.
looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, well, maybe this is something that should be." I don't know if the word is delved, but delved into a little bit more, and
For sure, for sure.
then but you already did. You already found what you were
Hmm.
wanting, and then you made it better
Yeah,
by
yeah,
asking for
that's
advice. And that's what I
for sure.
was trying to get at. Figure out what your answer is first and then go around and be like and
Yeah,
check your answer with reality
that's cool.
or
I
other
like
people's
that better.
perceptions.
Yeah, I like that better because I do it and then ask you. Okay, that's cool.
Instead of
Good,
just
good
being
call.
like,
Good call.
oh man, this just
What should I
happened.
post today?
Yeah, I want to post about passion. What should I
What should I
post?
say? What should I say?
I don't know, dude. You're the one who wants to make the post.
Yeah, exactly.
So
For sure.
let's see what else we got here. Three simple ways I can add value to those around me this week.
Ooh, ooh.
Or let's just start with one. One simple way you can add value to those around you this week.
Holding each other accountable, for sure.
Hold
Because
others accountable.
yeah, I know my close friends and like their goals, so reaching out to them, make sure that they're on point with them
Hmm.
and actually doing them. And I would expect the same response back to me,
Yeah,
or.
that's a good one.
So yeah, holding each other accountable and making sure that they're holding me accountable just as I am holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm. I said post to social media once
Cool.
a day. So
That's good.
I think that's the way I can add value to those around me.
For sure.
Uh, Also, I've been really thinking a lot lately about how I've been working by myself on my business, just and haven't been around people necessarily. I have been around people obviously, but not
Mm,
during, not like in my job. And so now
for
it's
sure.
getting back to that energy level of, and understanding the difference between my energy levels when I'm on these calls and energy levels when I'm in person. So when I went down to Texas and
Mm,
presented last week, it was a good little wake up call to get going again and understand, okay, this is the type of energy I need to bring here. This is the type of energy I need to bring here. Not that it's 100%, not that I bring 60% energy here and 100% energy there. It's different levels. It's all 100%, but it's
mm,
different types of energy. Calm energy, ecstatic energy,
uh-huh.
juiced up energy, whatever you want to
For
call it.
sure. That's amazing.
So
Yeah,
I've been
it's
thinking about
different.
that.
It's different. I love human connection and like witnessing people's reactions to what I have to share. When I share my emotions, how they react, it's such a different type of feeling when you do it in person.
Hmm. So my mantra for myself has just been energy, passion, life, enthusiasm. Energy,
Cool.
passion, life. And then when I think of those three
Enthusiasm.
things, I think of enthusiasm. Energy, passion, life.
Definitely.
Energy, passion, life.
Definitely.
So,
Awesome.
but
Awesome.
I did that last night and I thought it was a really good activity to just kind of go through.
That's amazing. I really enjoyed doing that. Um, I want you to send it to me so I wish I would have just wrote that down while we went through it because I like my
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture
Well,
of it.
actually, I mean, it's recorded anyway, so I'll just listen and write it down what I said.
You could do that too. It's good to listen to yourself. You said you listened to the last podcast?
Yeah, yeah,
You re-listened to it all?
yeah.
What did you think? Let's pull out.
I
I want you to give me one critique, and then
I I get so peeved with myself because when I'm with myself and I talk through intentions or things that I want to share, it comes out so smoothly. So I think I'm just starting to finally get comfortable with like knowing that I'm being recorded and knowing that it's going to be shared. Like I still haven't subconsciously I haven't made that connection where it's
hmm
like, dude, you've done this so many times in front of people who take your class.
yeah.
Weekly, just relax.
hmm
And this one I feel like really good. I just went into it. I was like, I need to just chill out.
hmm That's so funny you said that because when I was on a call with one of my teams and my girlfriend joined the call, and one of the athletes asked her, "What would you say to yourself if you were to talk to yourself back in college?" And she said, "Well, I would just tell myself to calm down.
Yeah,
Like track isn't everything, school isn't everything, friends isn't everything.
yeah,
There's a whole bunch of life out there. So don't get so uber focused on one thing that you lose control of the rest of your life.
yeah, for
And
sure.
just calm down. It's not that big of a deal in the
Oh, it's
moment."
not. And for in this aspect, like this is something I've always wanted to do. So it's practice. I'm not gonna be perfect right away. This is our what, like 6-1. It's not gonna come easy. Like it's gonna take work. And we've talked about such great things in all the podcasts, but I haven't felt comfortable with myself truly until finally this one today. I just feel like it's flowing, and because
Mhm.
I sat with myself, I was like, Matt, you need to just be yourself and stop overthinking and calm down
So you
because
primed
you
yourself for this
yeah,
call.
yeah. Because I know I have the right things to say, but sometimes it doesn't come out because I'm overthinking about it, and then
Yeah.
that allows me to not hear what you're saying sometimes, and it's like, well, can you repeat that?
hmm Well, I feel like maybe you should take some pressure off yourself as well because
Yeah,
I asked some pretty good questions that you've never thought about. I can't remember.
totally.
I can't even count how many times you've said, "Man, that's a good question," and then I'm asking
Because
you
it
for your
is.
initial answer, Whereas with the stuff that you go to and talk about in class,
That's planned. Yeah.
you've normally thought about it several
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
before you
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
got into class. One thing I wanted to bring up that just popped into
Hours.
my head was, so you spent hours on your message for class?
Well, no, not hours, but like the entire week. I never write anything down. It's all like I just go with what I feel in that very moment. And I feel like, well, I know the times that I've written it down when I feel something and it's like I should go this direction, I'm still focused on the sheet of paper and then I go that direction, but it's not following my intuition that I feel in that very moment. So I've realized that if I just spend the like couple days before my classes and practice it to myself, and then as days go on, like the beginning will start to change. I'll start to add more because it like something happened that day. It's just a flowing message that I constantly think about until class day. It's a
Mm-hmm.
cool process. I love it. It's like journaling in my head constantly, and then being able to speak through it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you were to write down a step-by-step process, what that would look like. Maybe
I, sh- I should. I should.
if it's
I should.
that good, if you
Yeah.
really love it that much, you should
Yeah.
maybe share that, because I bet you my girlfriend would be interested in hearing that. Or if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, he's always asking fellow comedians, what's your process for jokes? What's your process for creating a 45-minute special?
Yeah.
And everybody's is
Cool.
different. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to
Like
hear.
I went in today to class wanting to speak about the magnifying glass and what we magnify, we get more of. But as soon as class started, like an energy hit me, and I was like, "This isn't the right message for today." And even throughout class, I'm teaching it, and it's just coming into my head. It's like coincidences, talk about coincidences, and all this stuff. And I was like, "What the heck?" And literally, as everyone laid down, I let it flow, and it was like 5 minutes. Got the best feedback. People messaging me after class, and then I decided to record it and I'll post it today. But
Mm-hmm.
it's cool, like to be not set on a certain thing, writing it down and like, okay, this is what it's going to be, but just listening to yourself and focusing on the experiences you're dealing with and speak true to what you feel right in that moment.
That's also being able to, that also comes with experience though. Being able to
Oh
read
yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
energy and then
Oh yeah.
having the confidence to understand that you know what to talk about. Whereas if you're new to the game, having a system like you now have, because you had to go through this system trial and error over and over and over again, whereas
Yeah.
somebody new to the world of teaching yoga sculpt or just doing 3 to 5 minute speeches during classes, during meditative points, this might really help them. Okay, think about 48 hours out. Think about this: 24 hours out, 12 hours out,
Yeah.
6 hours
I'm gonna
out.
write that out. I like that.
So see
Create a
what
program
that might help yoga
for sure.
teachers,
For sure. I
especially.
like that.
You could talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of great
Yeah.
stuff. One thing that keeps popping up into my head these last 10 minutes, I saw this video on Instagram of a coach talking about how other coaches need to give their athletes a break, and how all these athletes, coaches want to get the laziness out of them. They want to pull the laziness out of them and just make them a disciplined athlete. And he goes, that laziness is what makes them great. That ability to just not seem like they care allows them to go out and perform at a high level on the court. And I think he was using the wrong word there, because
I don't get a good feeling with that.
any good athlete, that sounds like a talented athlete to me, but
Mm-hmm.
any legendary great athlete puts in a shit ton of work.
And they would never use the word lazy if you talk to them.
No,
They would
ever,
never use it. So why
ever.
would we describe them with lazy? You can't do
Mm-hmm.
that. They're
Oh,
not.
off the basketball court, they're incredibly lazy. They do this or that, and it's like, no, the legendary ones aren't at all. The ones that we still talk about to this day are not. We're not like that.
Even Michael Jordan thinking about making a shot constantly throughout his day. That's not being lazy
Yeah.
because he's focusing on that shot, which is going to make him practice that shot.
hmm I just think about three of the best pitchers in baseball right now: Verlander, Scherzer, and Clayton Kershaw. I mean, they're three of the best. I'm not saying they are the best,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah. Dude, I'm
those
kidding.
guys are the opposite of lazy. Those guys
100%.
work their butts off. So I
Yeah,
don't
they're
understand that. Dina Castor, the female American record holder in the marathon that I always bring up, she is the definition of when genetics and talent meets hard work. And those are the people that are legendary, when genetics meets hard work. Or you have guys like Mike Piazza, who was drafted, like 1,700, like over 1,700 people were ahead of him in the draft. And I think he was like 1,780 or something like that. So that means there were 779 better people, or 1,779 other people like that were supposed to make it to the Hall of Fame before he was.
I had a thought, and it's just people's perceptions of those people, but maybe their earned confidence is making people think it's laziness. So they earned the confidence that they have, and maybe people see that as them being lazy because they make it look so easy now because of how hard they work.
hmm
But they would never describe themselves as lazy, so we shouldn't.
Yeah. And also you're defining them. You're also giving them a negative
And
characteristic,
you're
and
giving them an identity that is not them.
you're labeling them.
Yeah.
And
And maybe
so
that stems from jealousy.
maybe, but even if they are lazy, and even if they aren't as disciplined as you want them to be, then they're just going to be good. Or maybe they are a great athlete, but they're never going to be legendary. Legendary, people are still talking about them. They're still talking about their
Yeah.
greatness years later. And also, Mike Piazza was
Yeah.
drafted
Yep.
1,390th. So there were 1,389 other people that were supposed to make it to the Hall of Fame before he did. So, I mean,
That's
same thing
awesome.
with like Tom Brady. We can go into that,
Yeah.
but nobody
Skinny
really
little
needs to
kid.
talk about him. So interesting. Just video that I saw. I couldn't really get on board with it or understand what he was really trying to say, because from what I
Yeah,
got
no, I
out of
like
it,
that.
it sounded like he was letting people off the hook, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it that's another thing that makes me temporarily peeved. Um, Someone who is a coach, people look up to coaches no matter what stage or what level you're at. Someone is looking up to you if you're a coach. So by them talking like that gives people a reason to be lazy and not try their hardest,
Exactly what I'm thinking.
right?
Like, why even give them that option or that reason? Because it's the same thing with food. People always talk about uh, like it's okay to eat what you want to eat sometimes, but then you look at the research and you're like, no, you shouldn't be eating some of the stuff we're eating, just period. And
Period.
people do it anyways because they have a reason to. Oh, well, this doctor said this, my doctor said it's okay to eat this. It's like, well, that thing's
Yeah.
basically killing you.
Yeah.
Over time it will kill you. So
That's a good example because even The Rock, like he posts his cheat meals all the time, and I feel like people look at that and be like, "Oh, it's okay for me to cheat," but that dude trains so hard. Like you don't have the work ethic he does. And I'm glad in some of his captions he'll say like train hard and then eat big, but like there's someone out there. It's like, oh, he's eating sushi and cookies. I'm gonna go do that too because The Rock's doing it. It's like,
mhm.
okay, well, push yourself first. Work hard, earn it.
Yeah, earn it. Or like, I mean, also he wasn't. I mean, he's like, again, genetically gifted. Nobody's gonna look like The Rock necessarily. So, I mean, you can look like him, but you'll never be him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm my own. Yeah. So, do you think genetics play a big role? I thought they did until I read Dr. Caroline Leaf's book. She said
Uh,
that so you go. Yeah, I answered your question. I asked you a
do
question.
I think genetics play a big role? I think genetics play a role in how tall you're going to be, how broad your skeletal system is going to be.
Mm,
Um, like The Rock
yeah.
has a large frame. I just don't
Mhm.
think that you can think your way into a larger skeletal system. Do you disagree with me
Yeah.
on that?
I no, I know.
Like
No.
a guy that is a
Not with
guy
the.
that's 5'8" is never going to look like The Rock.
Well, yeah, for sure. But like when uh people say they can't get to a strength level or a muscle growth level because they say they have bad genetics, I think that is complete BS. I think that's BS. And I say that now because I've read Doctor's Caroline Leaf's book, and she said that our heart responds to every one of our cells, our brain responds to all of our cells, and our what controls that is our subconscious mind. So, and our thoughts literally, she said, can change the way our DNA is shaped and formed just by our thoughts
Mm-hmm.
because our brain and our heart is connected to our thoughts, and those two things are connected to every cell in our body, which controls everything.
Mm-hmm. What about what about time though? So what I mean by that is Dina Castor, for instance, super talented, and she had been winning races since she was 12 years old. Usain Bolt, probably the same way. I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure he was probably winning every foot race since he was 5 years old. And so now he's training that top speed. She's training this elite level speed for 20, 30 years. And then finally she peaks when she's late 20s, early 30s, and becomes number one in the world and breaks the female American record in the marathon. So, but if she would have started that later in life, so for me, I'll never and I'll say this, and you can disagree with me or agree with me. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, but I will never be the male American record holder because I've run out of time. Basically, my genet we have we're genetically predisposed to losing testosterone and having a decline in muscle mass as we age. So how am I supposed to ever break the male American record in the marathon?
But
What
I
about
don't
that?
know. My example for that is Michael Hearn. I mean, that dude is 50 years old and he looks better than any 18 to 30-year-old in the fitness industry. And he's never taken steroids, been injury free since he was 12, and he is in the best shape he's ever been in his entire life at 50. Like it's just incredible. And but is that like a goal that you wanted? Because I feel like if it actually was your aspirations or was your number one goal, you'd find a way because you're focused on it no matter what.
I agree with that. That's not my goal, and therefore it
Yeah.
won't be. But you also need time to build. Just like with lifting, you're
Yeah.
never you even the West Side versus the World that documentary. That guy made a jump from like 456 to 650 on his bench in like 2 years. It's like,
Yep.
but that's 2 years of work plus
Yeah.
all the other work to get up to 450 in the first place.
100%.
If he would have started that process when he was 45, he would have never gotten there.
Yeah, and I agree it takes time, but my long-term goal is different from your long-term goal. Mike O'Hearn's long-term goal is to be the healthiest, best-looking guy in the fitness industry until he dies. So that's his goal. So he's focused on that. So he's always going to find a way. I don't know what your goal is. You don't know what my goal is, but no matter what, it may seem so hard to the other, like to another person's human eye, but we're going to find a way because it's our goal. So if that was truly your goal, you would find a way, no matter how long it would take you. So it is the time, but it's focusing on what your long-term goal truly is, and not saying you can never do it or never do that. I know for a fact that's not your long-term goal, but if it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was, but if it was, you'd find a way.
Well, I'm just bringing this up for kind
An
of
example, debate.
debate.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I hear all the time is that you can't, or why should I even try?
Mm,
You know?
mm. I don't like
So,
that.
I mean, when, especially with younger athletes, younger athletes it's so different, I
Hmm.
feel like, because with younger athletes, there's not, or even at the professional level, when you get up there, there's not a huge talent gap.
Mm,
It's all, it all comes down to like the mental processes that go into the day-to-day grind.
hmm Do you think there's professional athletes right now that don't want to be there?
100%. I mean, I
Yeah,
just shared earlier in this
yeah,
conversation about that guy that won 2 Super Bowls, and he's
yeah,
like, I was so happy when I retired.
yeah. Isn't it
And
sad?
yeah, I just think, well, you could be happy doing other stuff. See, that doesn't make him a high performer. That makes him an elite athlete.
Hmm.
That doesn't make him a high performer in my book.
No, no. And I would have so much respect for people who are at that level and who have created a name for themselves to leave and to realize what they can do with that experience of being a professional baseball player to lead into what they actually want to do. Because you already created a name for yourself. So sky's like you can do whatever you want. But if it you better do what you actually want to do.
Yeah,
You
like
can't.
Rashard Mendenhall that went to Niles West for high school. He went and played for the Steelers. They won a Super Bowl, and he was supposed to sign a contract and make all this money, and instead he decided that he didn't want to have multiple concussions over his career and wind up being uh, having brain issues later on in life. So he retired at a super young age. He only
Yeah.
played a few years. I want to say like 5 years in the NFL, and
Yeah.
then he purposely retired and went on to start writing for different shows out in Hollywood, like
Love that.
HBO's Ballers. He's a writer for them, so he's getting to
He
like,
he joined the right team. That's
yeah,
the rock.
yeah, I know. I was just gonna bring that up.
That's amazing.
It's interesting. I think
That's
time
so
plays a
cool.
big part though, and going back to that time thing that I was bringing up earlier, most people don't give themselves the enough time to actually see if something is possible,
Yep.
right? They quit before they've even given themselves the proper amount of time
Yep. That's
to
why I've been
to make those adjustments.
that's why I've been super grateful with like since I got back from Peru, thinking that the business was going to start right away and all this is going to happen, but it kept getting postponed and I'm not teaching as much, but what I'm doing is learning everything about myself, learning the information that I want to learn, learning things that I need to learn to get me where I want to go. So it's like all of this combined this past 6 months is like I thought I was bored, but in reality I'm shaping myself and taking in as much information I can to help me get to that level I want to be at. So if I was jam packed and had the business right away, I wouldn't be where I'm at today mentally, and I wouldn't be confident to do this because I didn't have that time to really focus and to really learn.
Hmm. And dive into the minutia.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like when you get up to insane numbers lifting, right? And you get over, I don't know, 300 in bench and 400, and it's just those minuscule gains that you get over. You put in all this time, all this time, all this time, just to increase your bench by 5 pounds, just to increase your squat by 10 pounds, and then you just keep going back to work, keep going back to work, keep going back to work, and eventually you work out for 2 3 years and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I was only squatting 315 back then, now I'm squatting 500 or whatever it is,
Yeah,
465.
yeah,
I went from squatting
yeah.
I went from squatting 135 to 465 in 3 years. So I mean,
That's
that's
incredible.
when you say
That's awesome.
3 years, it sounds like nothing. But in the moment, that 3 years felt like forever.
That's huge, dude. That's
Yeah.
huge.
They wouldn't let me go over 135 because my squat form was so bad, which I'm glad they didn't. But
Smart. Yeah, smart.
cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
Dude, that was awesome. I feel like that flowed so well, and I I have more to share, but I feel like it's a whole nother podcast, so I want to save it.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's put that out some other time.
for sure.
All right, dude. Well, I
All
will
right, brother.
talk to you soon.
Let's be great.
Let's be great. Let's go,
See you,
champ.
buddy.
See ya.